How's it going, everyone? My name is DrapPep. Welcome back to another installment of this series. So, when I was in junior high, there was uh, there was a moment where I missed the bus, and that sucked. So, the reason why it sucked is because this was back in the day when Uber wasn't a thing, and both my parents had to work, so I relied on that bus to get home. And I had a key to get in to my home, so I had to take the bus. Well, one of my friends had to use the restroom. I was like, well, I gotta catch that bus. I gotta catch the school bus. It's like, oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry. We'll we'll be real quick. We'll catch that bus. We were in fact not real quick. We were not. So we went to go get to the bus, and we missed it. Now, sometimes there is a late bus, right? Like if you missed your bus, there's one more that comes around and picks you up. There was none. We waited and waited. There was no late bus. Normally there is. I found out later on that we had missed both. We had missed the main bus and the late bus. We had missed both of them. So, by the way, I don't even know if all schools have that. That was just something my school had because we kept missing the bus. I don't even know if that's still even a thing, if there's a late bus. But when I was in school, there was one. And my friend said that he can uh, have me go home and I can use their phone to call my parents. And I was just kind of bewildered because I didn't know what to do. So I was like, okay, yeah, let's do that. So as we're walking, we find like these construction workers, and we asked if we use their phone because this was during a time when cell phones were a thing. They didn't have one yet. Cell phones were also very expensive, and not everyone had one. So we're like, all right, I have to go to your house now. So I go over to his place, and here's what's kind of silly. The phone number I remembered that was my mom's, she didn't have that number anymore, and I didn't remember her new number. So there was no way for me to contact them with the old number. I was panicking. I didn't know what to do. So I did the one thing I could think of. I told my friend, "Hey, you know what? I think I know how to get home from here. I'll just walk home." And my friend, he didn't really care. He was just like, "All right, I'll see you later." He did not care. So I went outside. I went to a payphone and I dialed 911, the only number I can think of. So I started crying. I was so terrified. I did not know how to get home. I was crying on the phone with the emergency hotline. What do you call that? Emergency service. That's what I meant to say. That emergency hotline. We all called there for fun. No, but like I was on the emergency service. I almost called it a hotline again. And I'm crying, and I vividly remember the person on the other line going, "Calm down, stop crying, and tell me what you're wearing." And I'm like, "Oh, pardon? Excuse me? What do you mean? What am I wearing?" And they're like, "Listen, the officer needs to be able to identify you." I was like, "Okay, all right." And so I told him what I was wearing, and sure enough, squad car shows up, and the first thing this guy said was, "How do you not know your parents' number?" And I'm like, "It gets funnier. I don't know where I live either." And he's like, "Pardon? Pardon me? You don't know where you live?" I'm like, "I do not know the address." I still remember it to this day now. Like that is locked in my memory. I was like, "Oh yeah, it's this location." I think I could say it now because I don't live there anymore. So it was I lived on Baker and Bristol there in Costa Mesa, and 100% I could not remember any of that. I could not remember the apartment complex of that area. So the officer was just like, I'm not supposed to do this, but what's your last name? And so I gave him my last name. He looked it up and he's like, is your mom and dad this name? And I was like, yeah, that's them. And he's like, all right, get in. I'll drive you home. And I'm like, wait, what? And he goes, just so you know, the police station is not a taxi service. Don't expect this again. I was so grateful. I was like, yes. And I was like, do I get in the back? He's like, nah, you can sit in the front. I'm like, I can sit in the front? Here's what's really fun. He had a shotgun in the passenger seat of the squad car. This dude had a shotgun right next to him, and I'm just sitting there with this barrel pointing at my face. And I go, is this safe? He's like, yeah, it's safe. Don't worry about it. This cop was unhinged, but like, I was grateful nonetheless. I was super grateful that I was getting a ride home. So I tell my parents what had happened because they're like, "Why are you late? Where were you? You were supposed to check in first." Because normally I do that. I go to the apartment, they let them know I got home safe, and then I go hang out with friends. That was the routine. I never went to hang out with friends until after I checked in. They let them know I got home safe. So the fact that I was showing up at night, they're like, "Where were you?" We were panicking. I told them what had happened, and they were like, "Are you serious? You don't know where you live?" I was like, "No." So my mom, my mom, uh, got me a wallet, and I was like, "Oh, this is interesting. I'm getting a gift for being lost." And my dad got me a video game. And my for my dad's sake, he pointed out that, well, you thought of calling the police, and you thought on your feet, and you found your way home regardless. And he knew it was kind of a traumatic experience for me because I told him I cried on the phone with dispatch, and he just kind of wanted to let me know that like I did a good job. Here's a video game. You should be rewarded for thinking on your feet and getting home safe. My mom, on the other hand, had different plans. she she just wanted to make sure I never got lost again. So she got me a wallet, and I was like, "Oh, cool, two gifts." And she goes, "No, not two gifts." And she put the address of where I live on a card and put that in my wallet. And she goes, "If you ever get lost again, you find an adult, and you show them this, and you try to get home." That's like the equivalent of having your name put on your underwear. Like, this is my name. I don't know it. I still feel kind of embarrassed by that to this day, even though it's been years later. I think back on that time of just crying on the phone with the dispatch and having a cop having to drive me home because I was lost. Not that lost, by the way. I At one point when I became a teenager, I literally, it took me a while, by the way. It took me a real long time. But at one point, I actually walked from where I lived to my school where I got lost. And that was an adventure because it just kind of reminded me of like, well, first of all, it was miles away, so it was an adventure. I went on a quest to go to my old high school. Sorry for that pause, by the way. I had like, my memory instantly reminded me that the junior high and the high school were not that far from each other. I now just remembered like the junior high I went to was only like 2 blocks away from the high school, and my brain was like, "Here's a fun fact in the middle of you filming an episode," and I was like, "Yeah, it is pretty cool." And I realized, wait, I'm not saying anything for quite a bit. I should probably say something. So yeah, no. Anyways, bit of a sidetrack there, but the journey that I went on, it took me all day to accomplish, and it was a one-way journey. I was not going to be able to walk back. That was a long walk. I think it was like close to about 10 miles, something like that. It sucked, and I was already planning on spending the night at my friend's house who lived nearby the high school, so it would kind of made sense to do that. Actually, now that I think about that, no, it did not make sense to do that. I don't know why I walked all the way to my school from, where I live. But I was determined, and I realized that from where I was located when I got lost, I could have just walked the rest of the way. I was quite literally more than halfway there from the school. And I probably would have gotten home maybe an hour earlier than when the cop dropped me off. But granted, I didn't know my way. If I could, I would, but I didn't know my way. It just, I don't know. I think back on that day a lot, and it always makes me cringe that I couldn't remember where I live. That is embarrassing. And here I am talking about it in an episode. But that's gonna be it for this episode. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.